welcome to our second episode of Sanity Studio Film Podcast.
Yeah, welcome.
You're here with Gracie Rae and
Brian Hobson, resident wise ass.
That's right. We are the co-founders of Sanity Films. We're also co-producers, brother and sister.
Media whores.
Yep. Completely. I mean, we have a film festival. We also have a movie out called Psychic, A Gift of Grace. Find it on Amazon, Vimeo, and soon coming to Gaia. Oh, also.
And all major streaming sources.
Also, it's on Roku, right?
That's right. It's on Roku now, which is very exciting. I just like saying Roku.
Roku.
Has a very nice ring to it.
So our first episode last time was just basically introducing this film podcast and telling what it is that we're focused on. But you guys were so great and actually gave us feedback and said, we want to hear more about your stories. We want to hear what you've learned as filmmakers individually. So today you're hearing my story.
Yes,
yeah!
Backstory, the origin story.
The salacious story.
Salacious gossip, Hollywood, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. So, for starters, my name is Gracie Rae. Also,
But is it?
But
no, kidding.
Gracie Rae Smith Gallegos is my full name. I even have a Christian, like a baptism name, which is Jocelyn.
Smith. That already sounds like shady. You know, it's like, oh yeah, I'm checking into this hotel. What's your name? Smith.
Right.
No, that really is her name.
Yeah,
I can verify that.
Right. I have specifically I was raised in Pico Rivera, California, which is a very Latin American community. So multiple names. You take on your family's names, your father's, your mother's. But I'm good old Gracie Rae. And I don't think a lot of people expect that I was raised in basically Eastern LA.
Right.
In this very, like every summer I would go to Mexico and yeah, I'm just a little weta.
Yeah. Whereas I've never been to Mexico, don't know much about the culture, but you
have been to Pico Rivera.
I've been to Pico Rivera. I have been. I visited her hood.
Yeah.
And I was in California for the first time, 2 years ago, and I did. I really enjoyed it. So, as an East Coaster, born and raised, I have to say it was very enjoyable, and I liked seeing her origin.
And for all of those who are in the Los Angeles County or Orange County, that specific community, I took him to Northgate Markets. So if you know what that is, it's like, it's my childhood. So basically you go in and there's all of these meats that are made basically the way that my family would make them with the, chicharron and, so good. I know you didn't hate the food.
No, I didn't hate that. I couldn't pronounce, more than half of it, but it was delicious.
He's like, what is this? Cabeza. It's lengua. He's like, what's that? I'm like, don't worry about it. Just eat it. It's delicious.
I should bust into like a South Philly accent and be like, yo, what's going on? You got any hoagies out here?
That needs to be
in the wooder.
We're going to go into that in his story.
Kidding.
Definitely. But so yeah, I was raised in Southern California. I was raised on a ranch. Really, I don't know what to say about it.
You were born in a.
I was born next to a chicken, basically. But it was great. It was an awesome experience.
She was on a burro.
Yes, I rode in on a burro. No, I mean, it was a great experience. And then I basically, even though we were so close to LA, I have to say my biological father, even though we weren't very close, he was so enamored by Hollywood, as was my mom. Since I was a little girl, I think I was just the only little blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid. And so I would get a lot of comparisons to in that era, like Marilyn Monroe, Madonna. That was the only blonde-haired, lighter-skinned women that I saw. And I just remember my cousin, I was so enamored by her. We used to call her Pocahontas because she looked like Pocahontas and she was so gorgeous. And I just wanted to be her so badly. And I remember sitting in front of a boudoir and she's doing my hair and she tells me, "Oh no, Gracie, don't look like me. You look like Marilyn Monroe." And I don't know if that's set in somewhere in my subconscious. My mom also is like the living incarnation of Tinkerbell. She's like tiny, blonde hair. You know, she's extremely bubbly.
Full of energy. She's the most energy, I think, that anyone that I ever met. I admire it. I wish I had that kind of energy.
Yes. Also, if you guys really want to know about me, she was the mayor of our city, of Pico Rivera, and she left when my grandfather, she was the mayor of our city, but she ended up leaving to take care of my grandfather, who raised me as my father, and he had cancer. That we go into, gosh, there's so much here. This is just such a loaded question. Like, talk about yourself. You're like, well, where do I start? But so
surmise my life in 10 minutes.
Right.
You know?
So I go into this and I go into my relationship with my grandfather, which was a very spiritual relationship, and my family and my upbringing, with our documentary, Psychic, A Gift of Grace, which, surprise, I am the star of, I guess.
Yes, you are.
That feels weird saying. So I also am a psychic.
Yes.
Dun, 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 dun. Which, I mean, I have a hard time explaining what that means. I guess I'm just very sensitive to energy, and something happens when people ask me for help. Something
tap into the other realm.
Right. So I'm a bit of a unicorn, and and that was always a part of my upbringing as well. And I had some really spooky, I think one of the cool things about being raised, I was primarily raised in the Mexican American culture, but they call our hometown the brown, is it Mulberry? Is that what
Mulberry?
It's right?
Yeah, that sounds right. Mulberry. Not Mayberry. Mulberry.
Oh, no, Mayberry. No, Mayberry. Is that like the...
Mayberry, that's what, you know...
Like the happy town or whatever. Yeah. They call us the brown Mayberry.
Oh, okay.
We were on an episode of CNN, Latinos in America, and that's what they called us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense then.
Fun fact. Go to my IMDb and check it out.
Yes.
That was me in high school. So embarrassing, but oh well. So yeah, we one of the cool things about being raised in that culture is the richness of the spiritual exploration, because we were very Catholic, but there was also people that were Catholic but also Santeria and like all of these other incarnations. Spooky.
But I love that stuff. So that's
exactly.
I like that part of your culture.
Oh yeah, and then my grandfather, he was Spanish. So my grandmother's Mexican, my grandfather's Spanish, but specifically from New Mexico. So that's mixed with the Indian, the Native American culture. And so it's like, that's rich spiritually. So I had a lot of cool, but also scary experiences growing up. And yeah, I just came out to be a psychic, I guess.
2 words I learned from you: bruja and curandera.
Yes.
There we go.
I love it. And it's so funny because I've moved to the East Coast, raised my whole life. I did study upstate New York theater, and then I did go to England for a short while. Growing up, I saw my mom in this political world, and she was like this Barbie doll, in this political world, but she was really good at what she did. So I was inspired by that, and I thought that I wanted to be an international consultant of some sort, politically, maybe work for the UN. So I pursued a law degree because that's what they told me to do. And so I ended up doing like a summer program in Oxford. And education was always really important to my family. I was the first one to really go to a university, get I feel a really excellent education. And I did all of that on scholarships. I did that on my own merit,
Busted your butt.
Yeah, I busted my ass, and I didn't have a choice because I had a mom with like a chancla that would spank me if
I don't even know what a chancla is, but
it's like a shoe.
Ominous. Oh, okay.
like a thong shoe.
It had an ominous tone to it. I don't want to get hit with a chancla.
Yeah, my mom was a ball buster. She was like A's were expected in the household, as well as a part-time job, as well as like extracurricular activities. Like and I still am that way.
You
like,
are that
my
way.
family
You will not
instilled in
find
me.
a harder worker.
Yeah.
You attack work.
Yes, and I enjoy that. So,
Yes,
yeah, I
you
mean,
do.
my mom is up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning working the ranch.
Yeah,
So,
no,
like,
I can attest to that. She's up at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, buzzing
Right.
around when it's like pitch black, and I'm just in awe of that.
And that's how we were raised. We used to go to, Catholic church mass on Sundays, and we used to have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go and do service. I was an altar server, FYI. So for all of the people that have reached out to me, terrified for my soul, I was an altar server. I was a part of the Catholic Church. I was so passionate about it when I was a child. I even thought about becoming a nun. That was like... Clearly,
now
I wouldn't.
Now she's numb to the nuns.
Now I'm a
That's what she was trying to say.
Maybe like part of me knows that was not the road that I was going to go down.
No.
Now I have tattoos and like,
Yes. I don't, but she does.
you have many.
I have 11.
So anyway, just to like expedite all of this, in college, when I was at Oxford, one of my teachers was like, honey, you're creative. That's actually what you are, because I couldn't sit in a classroom without doodling or, doing paintings or doing something creative. I would completely tap out mentally. So I had to do that in order to like stimulate my mind.
Well, not to interrupt you, I don't want to forget to bring out this point. She's a brilliant artist. That's something I don't think a lot of people know about you. Like her work on canvas, she can just paint something and it's just incredible.
Thank you.
It's a true gift, and that's something that I don't think a lot of people know that about you, but you are truly an artist. And
Thank you.
our apartment has a lot of your artwork in it, and
does.
it's very
covered.
thought-provoking. It is good stuff,
Thank
ladies
you.
and gentlemen.
Yeah,
So.
I've been commissioned like maybe one time, and I just know that it's for me more of like a hobby, more of something to like for the home. But so yeah, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So yeah, that's I just had that creative mind, and when she validated that in me, I took a step back and realized, wait a second, I've basically been able to go to college on my own merit. If I could do that, then I could actually pursue the career that I want, because I'm the one doing this. Like, this is going to fall on me. This is my life, and I have to do it according to what makes me happy. So I ended up going back to LA, and I did an internship with Sony Studios, international productions, because I thought, okay, let me go into the business side of the creative world, because that made more sense to me at that time. I wasn't sure if I could just jump in like head first into just, I'm an artist. I couldn't.
Which I think most do.
Right. And sometimes to an extreme. Like, let's be honest. Like, there was, I'm sorry, Mom, but like I had my time in college. There was like this semester that I smoked so much pot. I'm just going to be real with you guys. And like, I was doing my paintings and I was being an artist and like all of it. And it's like such bullshit, And I see that all the time with artists. It's like they get so caught up in that world. And I think one of the best things that has really helped to keep me grounded, and why we did this documentary in particular, was like, hey, we have, we also have a responsibility as artists to not just like, masturbate on screen with our artistic abilities, but instead to really have messages that help people and that move people forward.
And to that point, also to learn the business side of it, and to be, because you want to be a working artist. I think any artist, ideally in their head, regardless of whether they say it out loud or not, wants to be a working artist and to actually make money in this industry. And to do that, there's a reason they call it the entertainment business. You do have to learn the business side of it. You don't have to have a business degree, but you have to.
Which neither of us do.
No. And yeah, I'm the first to admit it's not my first. My first passion is not business and figures and numbers, but you have to learn how this machine works,
right.
And that's something that you personally have done magnificently.
Thank you.
I have to say.
Well, I mean, I still feel like I have so much to learn, but I have to tell you guys that, more of this will be uncovered in my story.
Yeah.
But so basically I started off at Sony Studios and I was amazed that I got this internship. My boss was amazing. She was so sweet to me and she really brought me in. We worked on this technical programming thing for Sony Studios. They have their own computer system and we designed the 2.0 because their original version was so out of date. And I just learned so much at that internship about the business side of things and really taking a look at it. And it was amazing. And I remember one of the things at that time, this must have been like 2011 or 2010. I don't even know. I think 2010. What I learned from that at the time is that we had these books and I wanted to update them for the future interns. And they said, this is the model, this is the structure of the studio system. And I remember looking at it and seeing that it was like things started in the studio and then went all the way down and filtered down into, Blu-rays, into DVDs or VHSs or whatever. And then now with the internet, it was becoming, that was the final revenue stream. And I remember telling my boss and thinking at that time, it's going to flip. It's going to be content that starts online and ends up going all the way, to theatrical distribution.
Boy, were you wrong.
I know. That's what, and I don't know.
Who's going online to watch film or,
right.
Nobody.
Right. And that, and at the time it was like, I don't know if anyone listened to me because I was just a stupid little intern, but whatever. But actually they were so great to me. I have to say, like, Jasmine Somars was my boss and she was just really wonderful. And I'm really grateful for the experience that she gave me. She also gave me a wonderful recommendation. They gave me an option because she was pregnant and going on maternity leave. They said, well, if you want to stick around this summer, we could actually hire you. Like Sony Studios wants to hire me? So exciting, but and I really just I loved it there, but I also had to pursue the more creative side of things. So she wrote me a letter of recommendation and I ended up getting into this summer program at upstate New York. It's called the Powerhouse New York and Stage Film and Theater Festival. And so that's where I first got my creative experience. And I remember, my teachers and my coaches being so impressed by my work ethic. And I really was interested in, New York was so different than LA. Everyone was like, oh, are people in California fake? And I was so insulted. No, I'm really just this bubbly and nice, being my mother's daughter. But then I really understood that when they say something, they were being really straight with you. They were being honest. Oh, so yes. It wiped out all of the BS that you get on a daily basis, especially in Hollywood and the entertainment community. There's so many people that are just full of fluff. And what I appreciated was getting that New York experience because it was no BS. This is what it is. But
welcome to New York.
Exactly. And so I basically ended up coming back here with that experience, and I ended up in college, I think it was my last year in college, just completely switching degrees, going into the theater, studying theater. I directed a few things. I even was able to go to a few theater festivals. I still love theater. I would say that that's really the origin of everything. But my teachers were good enough to say, hey, there's
no money.
Yeah, you're gonna
there really isn't. I've done a lot of theater too, and
right.
It's just
right, and it's
very time consuming too.
But I love the experience of theater.
yeah, it's wonderful.
And watching it, I'm still such a big.
Of course.
But anyway, so from that experience, that's what I really learned. And then I went into the real world of just being thrown into the whole Hollywood thing. And I graduated with a private school, bachelor's degree. And
top of the class.
well, I graduated with honors. I mean, I was expected to, right? And then it was like you're on your own and you have to survive in LA and you have to, and then all of these things are happening while my grandfather is like dying of cancer. So I have this huge moral, you know, issue of like, how do I do all of this? I can't support myself without having a job, but I want to be there for my family, and you know, and then also pursuing a career. It was difficult, and again, a lot more of that is in our documentary Psychic: A Gift of Grace. And then also, oh yeah, you're also a psychic. What do you do with that? I don't know. Like, what do I do with that? Is that I can't possibly charge people for readings. Oh my gosh, you know, like my soul would be damned to hell. So a lot was just going on there, and I basically ended up, you know, really
becoming a stripper.
No.
The psychic stripper.
Right. Actually, I will say, though, that during...
I am kidding, by the way.
No,
totally
I
kidding.
have not stripped yet.
I have, but she has not.
So I ended up, you know, getting a manager, getting an agent, going on all of the casting networks, doing all of that, paying thousands of dollars for casting workshops and acting classes. And, you know, like they changed all of me. I had like blonde hair. They were like, no, you're Latina, dye it dark, you know, do this, do that, and lose weight. That was a big one. Lose weight. So I'm basically like starving.
That always pisses me off. I hate that.
Right.
I hate when they tell women that, any human being that, but especially women, that just irks me. But that's I know, a different topic.
Well, no, it's a very appropriate topic because I'm telling, you know, our viewership, hey, this is what I learned. It was rougher.
Women, you're beautiful just the way you are.
You are, but if you're a Hollywood actress, like...
Still, there's work out there no matter what your size.
Yeah, but like bullshit, though. You know what I mean? Like I still have a ton of friends who are in LA working as actresses, and you'll even hear the celebrity actors, you know, the A-list actors talk about, yeah, I could spend all of my time training, you know, doing indie films, but there's not money in it and there's not a following. They much rather have a six-pack, take off their shirt. Now they have 20 million followers and they can do any movie they want to. That is a big reality that like we do have to talk about, but we're here to also talk about how to get around that because it's just so vapid. You know what I mean? Like even these gorgeous actors have more to offer than just their bodies. So, but...
Well, I also see a lot of that changing, though. I see, you know, women of different body sizes starring in films now. And I'm very happy to see that. Very happy to see that.
But I think also one of the things when I was acting in LA was carving out a niche for yourself, you know? And for me, unfortunately, like, I mean, I'm like 24 years old, you know, I've got an extremely curvy body. Even at my, like, I tried to starve it off and to be as thin as I could so I wouldn't be as curvy. But those curves, you know, those hips don't lie, like they wouldn't go away. And so that was my body and that was my casting type. So, you know, you spend all of this money on investing in your career and investing in your art, and then you get in front of a camera and they're like, take off your top. And it's just so... like, what just happened? I'm so confused. And so that's still a reality that's happening for a lot of women. You know, Showtime, HBO, like those specific types of films. And now even like Netflix and Hulu, they do expect nudity. They expect, you know, these things. But like you said, it is changing. But when I was acting in LA, it was pre-Weinstein, pre-Me Too. You know, so it was a very different era.
Totally.
And, you know, like you would go to AFM and have guys like drooling all over you. And I remember also being told by like fellow actors or casting directors, well, if you don't like it, like, you know, maybe dress differently. Maybe I'm like, I can't hide what's under here. There's like this is what my body is. And I ended up like, you know, like trying to change my body as much as possible so that I could be a serious actress. It just really never worked out, and I feel sorry for that actress that younger actress in me that wasn't capable of just fully accepting it and saying, no, screw you, I'm going to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's the issue as well. And this is why I'm so passionate about doing podcasts for actors and actresses, because I'm now behind the camera. I'm not so interested. I'll be in front of the camera for the purposes that are required, but I'm more interested in telling you guys, hey, this is the truth. As a producer, I don't give a shit if you have A's, B's, C's, D's, F's. Like, cool. So does Christina Hendricks. And like, you know, she used to do Mad Men. Now she's doing something entirely different. And so, you know, she really embraced that. And I think that we can embrace our bodies and our types and our niche and really make it work for us in a safe way without having to go down those, you know, casting couches or whatever.
Totally.
that used to be really prevalent.
Oh, unquestionably. And you have a real director's mind, so working for you, I know firsthand, is a pleasure. So
thank you.
We will make it our mission to have as many projects as possible and hire some incredible people.
So basically, I ended up doing the acting thing. I studied for 2 years. My grandfather passed away, and then I stuck around for another like year and a half. I want to say.
You did a little music video too. That time.
I was a video vixen. I mean, I didn't like do a ton of stuff out in LA. A lot of stuff that was off. Here's a lot of what my experience was. You're the perfect Priscilla Presley. You're the perfect whatever like role that we have, but our director is new. He doesn't have a following. Therefore, we need to hire the chick from Twilight or whatever it is. So many times I was actually booking, you know, these roles, but because I didn't have this major following that they needed, I wouldn't end up getting the role. I wouldn't make it to set. And so that was really disparaging. And then also just the other like things around Hollywood. It was so expensive. And most of my friends were in Orange County. I was basically really isolated by myself out in LA, and my brother is on the East Coast and he's a voiceover actor and he started producing his own stuff, and we were like, you know what? Why don't we just produce our own shit? Like, why not? So
exactly.
Long story short, you know, because my work is flexible and I can do it from home, I ended up, you know, coming to visit, packing my shit in a month and moving here and just starting anew. And
it's been chaos ever since.
It's been amazing ever since.
Delightful chaos.
But it's also been so illuminating, like all of the things that I thought were so factual and so necessary out of LA, the money that I was spending on this damn industry.
Yeah.
It's so not necessary. And, you know,
Amen to that.
We didn't go to film school. We didn't know any of the technical side of things. I really didn't understand the industry that I do now and understand the demographics and the target audiences and what's required and the streaming services. And like, there's so much information, but even though there's so much information and there's so much out there, it is really still simple at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing. I'm gonna toot your horn for you because she's a humble person, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know her personally, she's very humble. Anything tech you see via Lost Sanity, whether it be our website, our podcast, movie trailers, editing, that's all her. And she's brilliant at it. And I am very grateful for her talent because if she doesn't know how to do something, she will start that day, dive into it, do her research, and master whatever it is that needs to be done. That's a trait I know I can personally learn from, but I think everybody can. Because if you want to be a full force in this business, then just attack whatever it is that you're afraid of or scared to learn. And amazing things can happen because you're a living testament to that.
Well, they call it a predator, which sounds really like creepy, but it's like a producer. I think it's Predator. It's a producer, director, and editor.
Where's Chris Hansen?
Right.
Gracie, I'd like to talk to you. Okay.
Why did you bring this pizza to a 14-year-old? No, yeah, so when I moved out here, it was really freeing. I like literally cut off all my hair and I was like, I don't give a shit. Like, I don't have to like be a size 2 any longer. I can go eat pizza and like do my thing. And so I found incredible freedom on the East Coast. LA has more of like a studio mindset. and getting into a certain club. But out here with the independent, film producers and production companies out here, you can kind of go to your own rules, and I really like that, because at the end of the day, it's about the product.
Sorry.
No, but you can you can talk about like how much you know about film and blah blah blah, but it's like, can you produce? Like, can you actually get the product? And I know that sounds a little bit like I'm being a hard ass, but it should really make things simple for us. Like, if it's translating to film, awesome. If it's not, well, shit, we got to go back and like see what went wrong here, because for us, it was really simple. We just needed someone to shoot, and then for our first project, we did have in mind to hire an editor, and our editor didn't work out. So, and we'll do another podcast about what happened and how we've been able to shoot a documentary a day for our last 2 projects, and talk about what was all involved in all of that. But a big part of it, and being a producer, an indie producer, is to like limit your expenses and to be able to do as much as possible. I didn't go to film school. So what? Like, I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning, go get the eggs from the chickens. Like, I figured that shit out. I figured out how to drive. There's a lot of things in my life that I haven't known how to do, and you just learn. It's okay. You're not expected to know everything.
And then you can surround yourself with people that do know and learn from them.
And you can hire them.
You can hire them.
And they're willing to work for whatever wages depending on the project.
Like our last paranormal project, we found a great camera guy.
We'll
Shout out to you, Mike, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, well, we want to work with Mike again. He was just so great.
He was awesome. He took a road trip with us, and we scared the...
Oh my God.
Well, not we, but the environment scared the crap out of him, and he was a trooper.
And so with our first project, we basically had to, like, in a very condensed amount of time, learn how to be executive producers, line producers. We had to learn like everything from the production side. That was one thing in and of itself.
Storyboarding. I mean, everything.
Yeah. And that was like one. And I'm very particular about things.
You?
Yes.
Get out of town.
Well, if it's not on paper.
She's very particular.
If it's not on paper, it's not going to end up on screen. So, like, everything that we planned out for our first documentary is exactly what made it to the screen. And we didn't even have all the footage, FYI.
No.
And I think
some footage was held hostage, but that's another story.
And when people say, like, we love your story, by the way, I'd never intended to be in our documentary. I didn't even want to be. It just worked out where it was like, well, I'm an available resource. And as an indie producer, you got to bloom where you're planted. You have to go with the resources you have. We had a studio, aka our apartment. We had me, who's a psychic, and like there's really not too much information about that. And I'm just really passionate about empowering people and getting them to accept themselves. But one of the best.
You also have a very compelling story.
Well, he's the idea guy. I'm more of the execution lady. Like I'm a Virgo. I just like get shit done. But he's the idea man. He's a Libra, just in case you know about astrology. He's a Libra. He's an idea man. He puts the ideas forward. And,
well, thank you.
And they're really brilliant ideas.
Thank you.
And that's why
much.
we actually are complete opposites in everything that we do. and that's why it works.
That's why it works. The yin and yang.
And we can like yell at each other 1 second and then be like, oh, okay, let's go eat. Like
totally.
I think that's also so important is our working dynamic is we don't take things personally. We get over things. And it's really just about, in the creative process, you have to be willing to be open and honest with people, and to express yourself. So it's worked out really well for us. But, in terms of me and what I've learned, now that we have done 2 documentaries and, we're doing this podcast, we have our film festival, we have a lot of other things going on that we can't talk about, but we're really excited to share with you all. I also have a radio show that is starting May 2nd. It's
1-2 Radio.
1-2 Radio. It's more my psychic and empowerment stuff that I really am excited to share with people. I also do a lot of work for trauma victims. That's a big part of my life that I'm very passionate about. But,
along with your cat.
Along with my cat, Xena. Princess Xena.
We love you, Xena.
So we just have a lot of stuff going on, obviously, but what I've learned through all of this is that, you know, you have to beat to your own drum. You know, like there's already a Spielberg. There's already a, you know, David Fincher. There's already a Christopher Nolan. It's really about, you know, accepting yourself and realizing what your gifts are. And so we just realize, like, we see all of these people who so desperately want to be successful, and we understand that, but you know, it's not about spending a ton of money to make that happen. It's not about changing yourself. Actually, the more authentic you can be, probably the more successful you'll be as a direct result of that. So that's my story. And now I am a producer, director. Oh yeah, I really found that I love directing. I love it because
you're a director for sure.
I do. He thinks almost audibly. He's the writer, but I think visually. So
you do.
It's just, you know, it's just, yeah, such a big part of my life. And so now we've done documentaries. I've completely fallen in love with documentaries, but we're moving on to scripted, and just a lot of exciting things and learning about this industry. And, you know, now we're getting to meet with people who are interested in our stuff and interested in what we're doing. But, you know, all of those years of acting individually and being a part of productions and studying, you know, our art basically predisposed us to be good at this. You know, you either have that eye or you don't, or you have to work on developing it. You have to figure out how to tell a story. That's like, if you don't have that, you know, you can learn the technical stuff. I think I learned how to edit in like a 4-month period.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, or less.
I think it was less. And then, you know, it was weird because it was like, okay, I kept trying to like find people to do like sound stuff or, you know, the music. And then it was like, you know what? I'm just going to learn this on my own. And I'm so glad and grateful that I did. And so, you know, you just have to take it one step at a time. And if you can do it on your own, especially in the beginning, I would really encourage you to, because I don't have to edit every single one of our projects moving forward, but at the inception stages, I might have that in mind. You know, it helps me to be a better creator, a better executive producer, a better director. So the more that I can do these things, I should do these things because it informs us going into a project.
And you have a full appreciation for what that is. You know the mechanics now of what goes into editing. So that's
right,
a big feather in your cap, aka our cap. So, and
I think also we maybe didn't realize how ballsy we were, because right out the gate we were like, feature film,
documentary.
Yeah, let's do this shit like that no one else has done before. Yeah. And you know, we basically, I had always been a very big fan of Gaia, and that was our focus. And I was like, oh, Gaia, they do spiritual stuff. We're interested in, you know, the metaphysics and supernatural and paranormal. Let's do something regarding that. And so we always had that in mind. And we ended up shooting for Gaia, getting distribution with Gaia, plus Amazon Prime worldwide, plus Roku. You know, so many doors are opening for us.
Detron TV and Udo.
That's basically Roku.
That's another name, Udo.
Right.
That's like the Roku thing. Which they have great words to pronounce. That's insane.
And also, I will say, and you know, I'm kind of closing up here, but what I really learned from all of this was, you know, I gotta say, I love Game of Thrones Khaleesi. You know, there's a whole studio structure. There's a whole, you know, structure for Hollywood that was in place. And when the Me Too movement came around, it shattered a little. Yeah. And that was a beautiful thing, because a lot of things that were happening were wrong. And so for a long time, I think I tried to play the game by like, oh, I'll do whatever my acting coach tells me. I'll do whatever this person tells me. And every single time I did, even if it was just like not speaking up about, oh, I don't know about that script. Can we change this? Can we change that? Whenever I stayed small, I really regretted it. And I think it really held me back. So now, you know, it's been
You're being true to yourself, true to your own voice.
Exactly. And I am like in a safe environment where I can speak up. There's no authority here. We are 100% partners working together. It's a collaboration. And I think that that's what it should be. If you really want to be a great filmmaker, I think you have to be a good collaborator, or else you're just an asshole.
Yeah. And by the way, you mentioned Game of Thrones. I never heard of that. What is that?
It's this really small...
Really? Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Show series. There's dragons.
I'll have to look into that. Wow.
But I just think of her line, and it comes up all the time where she's like, I don't want to, reinvent the wheel or whatever. I want to break it.
Yes.
And so, if you're coming into this industry, like, you have to have that kind of, purpose, I think, if you truly want to stick around, because I also know a lot of successful actors and producers that get to a certain place and they're just like, oh, this is so dumb. What am I doing? I hate my life. I hate my job. And it's like, if you're really passionate about something, like the best, commentary or feedback that we've gotten from our first documentary is like, well, the first one was, it looked great. We were like,
yeah,
it looked great, really? Because, there was a whole process of color correcting and then color
guerrilla
grading.
Filmmaking 101.
Yeah, and we had, I'll go more into that in another podcast, but when people say it looks great and it sounds great, I know the work that it took to get there, and I knew that that was so important for people to be able to, like, pay attention, and so we really knew that that was important. But then also when people are like, your story, and it makes me, really like think of myself, and I've always wanted to do this thing and I've never been able to pursue it, or I was so ashamed because of this or that, it just breaks our hearts right open in such a beautiful way to be like, we're not just making films, about ourselves and how cool we are. We're making films for people to watch and identify with, and that's the magic of cinema to me.
Absolutely. I would like to personally close with the phrase, when opportunity knocks, kick the door in.
Yes.
Boom. Some action.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that is Gracie Rae. And next time you will hear...
That's a snippet of your story.
That's a snippet of my story. If there's things that I left out or more things that you want to hear about, I promise you we will go more into it in our future podcasts. But
watch the documentary, because if you think her story is just interesting hearing this, watch the documentary. It's fascinating.
Watch it, please, like, seriously, please watch it from the lens of your own perspective, your own life, and really try to think about how these things of shame have held you back. Because that's something that we don't realize, that these things that we're embarrassed about or feel ashamed of, they're actually the golden nuggets of our existence. So please embrace them. Please love yourself. And if you have questions, comments, suggestions for, our upcoming podcast, let us know. We're genuinely interested.
We are open to all ideas. So thank you for listening.
Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.